What's up, y'all? My name is Prince and this is Goldenbell Training. On April 27th, there was a fight in China between an MMA coach named Xu Xiaodong and a Tai Chi master named Wei Lei of the Thunder Fist style of Tai Chi. And as you just saw, the MMA coach Xu Xiaodong defeated Wei Lei in about 10 seconds with very little resistance on the part of the Tai Chi player Wei Lei. That fight in April was captured from several different angles and broadcast online. Within a day or two, the video went viral, and there's even a story about it appearing in the New York Times. I've had a few people reach out to me and ask me to share my thoughts on this because I teach Tai Chi, and before I give my personal thoughts on the fight, I want to give you all on the actual background on this fight. Okay, so what I'm about to say might be a bit controversial with some people in the Tai Chi community, but I'm going to tell y'all the way I heard it from someone who knows Xu Xiaodong personally. But what set the stage for all of this actually started with a demonstration by Qin family Tai Chi Grandmaster Qin Xiaowang. Grandmaster Qin Xiaowang gave a demonstration on a Chinese television show where he performed two feats. One of them showed 20 people trying to push him over with no success. The other demonstration showed him neutralize the push of a strongman who towered over Grandmaster Qin Xiaowang, and he should have been able to easily push him over just based on appearance. So by the end of the show, Grandmaster Qin Xiaowang appears to have some superhuman skill from years of training his family's Tai Chi, and of course with him being the Grandmaster of that style. Now the thing is that it's possible to fake those types of demonstrations. When a group of people is pushing on someone in a demo like this, only one of them is actually applying any force. In the demo with the strongman, Grandmaster Qin Xiaowang places his hands so that the strongman is actually unable to apply force on him. Also, there's the possibility that these people may have been paid to be cooperative participants in the demonstration. Now, I'm not saying that any of that is what's happening. I'm just saying that it's possible to fake these kinds of demonstrations, and that's important for how things eventually went down between Xu Xiaodong and Wei Lei. So there's more stuff involving Qin family Tai Chi related to several fighting circuits that broadcast sanshao competitions on television in China. Now the word sanshao literally means free fighting, but the sport sanshao is Chinese kickboxing. Sometimes it's called sanda, which is the more common name. Sanshao or sanda is a lot like Muay Thai, but some competitions don't allow knees and elbows. Also, takedowns are allowed in sanshao or sanda. So before you start saying that Kung Fu is no good, remember that Kung Lee competed in the UFC and he had a sanshao background. He was one of the best of all time. Now, by the time Kung Lee came to the UFC, he was already past his prime. But anyway, I mentioned the televised sanshao competitions because Xu Xiaodong claimed that as many as 30% of these televised fights were fixed, meaning someone was paid to lose. There's some instances where sanshao fighters who are representing famous Tai Chi families are pitted against their own students so that the masters will always win, making that school look good, or at least that particular member of the Qin family when the Qin family is involved. So this sets the backdrop for this fight between Coach Xu Xiaodong and Mr. Wei Lei. Xu Xiaodong came out of a sanshao school where one of his classmates went on to fight in the UFC, so I'm guessing this was a pretty decent program. And Xu Xiaodong actually participated in one of the first MMA competitions in China. He was submitted by somebody who specialized in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he shortly retired from competition after that. Xu Xiaodong began coaching people, and he was running an MMA gym in Beijing. So he also took out this personal mission to call out the frauds in the sanshao community because he wanted to improve Chinese combat sports as a whole. So part of what Xu Xiaodong set out to do involved calling out these fake matches, but it went on to include calling out so-called masters who set up fake demonstrations. Now, for whatever reason, he started out calling the Qin family. Now, if you don't know, Qin family Tai Chi is a big business. The Qin family village called Qinjiago brings in a lot of money from people traveling from all over the world who are coming to train with the Qin family in the village where their Tai Chi originates. Some might even say this is the birthplace of Tai Chi. In addition, there are the Qin family masters who are traveling all over the world teaching seminars, selling DVDs, training material, and look, I hope you guys get where I'm going. This is a big business, and the Chinese Wushu Association and the CCP are not going to want to see anything happen to the cash cow that they have bringing in all this money. So hold on to the thought that this MMA coach is doing something that could cause the Qin family to lose face, because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, and the CCP ain't about to lose dollars over some nonsense. This is going to come up again in a bit. Well, anyway, this guy Wei Lei of the Thunder Fist style, and I'm going to tell you, look, I've heard of Pai Lei Chuan style, but that's not a Tai Chi style. It also means Thunder Fist. That's the Kung Fu style that Mo Pai students study in the Chinese communities in Indonesia. So I'm already not sure about this Wei Lei dude already, but this is where things really get crazy. Wei Lei has been featured on this show called Experiencing Real Kung Fu, where he was named as one of the top Tai Chi masters in all of China. Wei Lei slapped a watermelon, and when it was cut open, the insides were turned to mush without doing any damage to the outside of the watermelon. This was supposed to demonstrate that he had this Fa Jin ability that could cause internal damage to your organs without leaving a bruise on your skin. He also demonstrated Grasp the Sparrow's Tail, a move in many Tai Chi forms where he held a bird in the palm of his hand. When the bird tried to take off and fly, it was unable to push off from Wei Lei's hand. Now, the Grasp the Sparrow's Tail thing may not make sense to you if you don't know anything about Tai Chi, but there's a story about Yang Luchan's third son, Yang Zhangho, who performed this feat over 100 years ago. But here's the thing, Wei Lei claimed that his internal strength created an invisible force field that took away the bird's ability to fly. So this was supposed to one-up even the skills of the Yang family's best martial artists. Later, the host from the show admitted that Wei Lei's feats were all faked. The watermelon was rotten, so everything was already liquefied before Wei Lei hit it. And as for the bird in the palm, well, there was a string tied to the bird's leg. Someone off camera was pulling the string, keeping the bird from flying away. This didn't stop Wei Lei from running his mouth though. He actually contacted Xu Xiaodong through his social media, claiming that he had a technique to break a rear naked chokehold using only one hand. Xu Xiaodong contacted him about a friendly demonstration, but he had to cancel their meeting because another Tai Chi teacher who was about to travel abroad asked Xu Xiaodong to train with him at his MMA gym around that same date. Xu Xiaodong canceled the meeting with Wei Lei, and this prompted Wei Lei to post all of the details about their canceled meeting online, along with Xu Xiaodong's phone number and other personal contact information. So let me ask all of you, what do you do when some guy trash talks about you, posts your information all over the internet, and then finally agrees to meet up with you in basically a street fight with no rules other than an agreement not to kill each other? Well, I'm just saying, it sounds to me that Wei Lei wrote himself a check that his ass couldn't cash. And that's exactly what happened. He got pounded by Xu Xiaodong, and the bad thing is that he brought shame to all Tai Chi players around the world. Not because he lost, but because of what happened after the fight. Now think back to all the stuff I led in with about the Qin family and their Tai Chi. So shortly after the fight, the press is going wild in China. They're calling Xu Xiaodong a madman and playing the whole Chinese saving face game. Qin Xiaowang and Qin Ming make separate public statements that their family's Tai Chi isn't really for self-defense or for martial purposes anymore. The focus is more on the health benefits. And okay, so I mean, that might be true, but the problem is all these media outlets are now reporting that Tai Chi isn't a martial art used for self-defense. It's more for health, well-being, and a spiritual practice. So people influenced by the media in general are sheep. This is what the media is saying, and that's what people are going to think when it comes to Tai Chi. It's not a martial art anymore, it's for health. Now I'm saying this and I don't even need to read the New York Times, because if I post a video of me practicing a Tai Chi form, I see it in the comments on my own videos. Oh, I see you're not into the martial side. You're focused on the health side. Like, excuse me, but unless you're training with me, you have no way of knowing what my emphasis is. And here's the thing. Tai Chi Chuan is a legitimate martial art. And before you ask, well, why don't I see it in the octagon? You need to remember that mixed martial arts is a sport. Stepping into a ring, stepping onto a mat, those are all sports that require a specific kind of training. If you are the best person in your church basketball league, and then someone calls you to guard LeBron James in the NBA playoffs next week, you're probably not going to do so well because you don't have the proper training for that activity. This guy Wei Lei doesn't appear to have the necessary skill to fight someone who almost became a professional combat sport athlete and is actively coaching combat sport athletes every day in his gym. Also, if you want to use Tai Chi Chuan in a fight, well, it requires that necessary training, but it also requires one to have what's called pung or ward off skill. My teacher actually calls this Tai Chi energy, but whenever I say this online, people think that I'm talking about some anime cartoon nonsense. But whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, because if you don't have it, you're just waving your arms around in the air and doing a dance. The Tai Chi body is described as steel wrapped in cotton, and when someone touches your muscles, they feel soft and relaxed, even though you're able to still generate a lot of power from a relaxed state. Now, even having that prerequisite is not enough. You still have to train to use all of that stuff in a fight. So think of all this as you have this really fancy sports car, but I'm going to drop in the motor from a Geo Storm and give you some beat up tires. You got a nice Ferrari or a Lamborghini that can't get anywhere because it's lacking the necessary components to really make it go. Or say you finally get the right kind of motor, the right kind of tires, and now you have to actually learn how to drive that monster the right way. This is the same way it is with Tai Chi or any other internal art. You have to develop certain prerequisite skills and then learn how to pull them all together. Some arts have a steeper learning curve than others. And how all of this ties back to the statement about Tai Chi being a health practice? Well, if you're not training Tai Chi to develop real internal Tai Chi skills, if you don't understand the proper way to align your body for self-defense applications, well, then you actually aren't getting the health benefits. You'd actually be better off not risking blowing out a knee or something else from doing really bad Tai Chi. If Tai Chi is only for health, I could think of better things to do, like really just go do yoga. If you're a single guy, it would be a better use of your time. Just hit the grocery store around the time yoga classes let out and look at all the girls there in the yoga pants. And if you live in Nashville, Tennessee, just go to Target on White Bridge Road around 7 p.m. and it's like Invasion of the Yoga Booties up in there. So, what do you think about this meetup between Xu Xiaodong and Wei Lei? A lot of people are trying to promote this as Tai Chi can't stand up to MMA, Tai Chi can't fight. But in this case, it's about the two practitioners involved. This Wei Lei dude popped off at the mouth, and at the end of the day, Xu Xiaodong popped him in the mouth and made him shut the hell up. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll be checking back to see what you all have to say. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to check out my video on the problem with Aikido, or if you're into Bruce Lee, you can check out my latest video where I take a look at how Bruce Lee didn't actually say one of his most famous phrases. Well, that's all I got for this video, so thanks for watching. Y'all keep training, remember to breathe, and I'll see you on the next video.